In this episode, I'm sharing what I have proven to be the number one secret to a successful media ministry. Sometimes a secret is not a secret because someone is withholding information, but because the masses generally are not informed. Ensure as you train in media ministry, you don't miss out on mastering what I believe is the most underutilized and misunderstood media ministry tool in the modern era of publishing and media. The brand guide. It's not about a logo and it's not about some colors and fonts. It's more advanced than that. Yet, if you watch to the end, you'll be amazed at the simplicity and genius of it. In this episode, I'm sharing how you go from this to this. Let's show you how. All right, amigos. Hey, let's advance our media ministries. Here is the secret to a successful media ministry. This is media ministry training for your church. The topic is, what is the number one thing that you should be doing in your media ministry to make sure that it is an effective media ministry? Let's jump in. So in the past 10 years, I've been in New England, Connecticut. I moved here to a church that was duct tape everywhere, and it was just in a really bad place. There was about 150 members, and my friend became the pastor of the church. So I moved all the way from California to help my friend with his church. For the most part, this building was just in disarray, and the church was half empty. Now, after about 10 years, we're at 2 services and we're about to jump into a 3rd service. And what I'm about to share with you is one of the reasons why so many people have been reached through this church, because it advanced its media ministry strategy and because we just became more faithful to fulfilling God's mission on earth, which is getting the gospel to people. We made the main thing, and the main thing is preaching the gospel. And we built a brand guide, and that brand guide helped us navigate the process for updating so that everything matched and everything had a really awesome aesthetic that matched each other, and everyone on the team knew exactly what decision to make because the brand guide was guiding them to make those decisions for the team. And so after 10 years, God's done a miraculous thing where he has transformed this New England church that's in one of the least church places in America. And now we're going to about 3 services. Now, it's not all due to the benefit of what we're going to talk about, which is this one secret tool that most growing churches are using that not many people are talking about on YouTube, and it is the brand guide. This is one of the most underutilized ministry tools that successful, growing, awesome churches are using to publish God's message through so that more people are connecting to God's church. What we want to do through this channel is help you understand how to advance your media ministry so that you're reaching more people through a successful media ministry. Media ministry is advanced. It's got a lot of different lanes that you can jump into, and a lot of these lanes are a waste of your time if you're not doing things with a brand strategy. A brand strategy is very different than a logo. A logo is an identity mark for your organization. It is not a brand strategy. A brand strategy encompasses a standard for excellence. You define that standard, and then you give a visual representation of what that standard is throughout your whole organization, whether it's an interior design piece, a poster, an invite card, a website, a video, an Instagram post. It should all be linking to each other from a standard point of view. You're going to define your standard for excellence, and that becomes your standard for excellence across the whole organization. And it helps your leaders make better decisions going forward. So we want you to be successful with media ministry. We don't want you to waste your time putting publishing into the world that doesn't connect the dots to your church. I want to share with you right now what that looks like. If you're not building a brand guide that is building consistency across your whole organization, from the aesthetics to the way that you communicate, you're going to be losing people because they're not going to believe that you are an excellent organization. You want to have this most amazing tool and using it across your whole organization, which is the Church of God, and making God's church look excellent. And you can do that by building a brand strategy for your church. So this is a brand strategy that we built, and it is a growing organization, but they were kind of stuck in the past a little bit with their branding. So what we did was we dissected the core tastes of the executive team, and then we designed a brand strategy for those standards that we discovered. The standards that we discovered for this brand strategy is simple, clean, authentic, innovative, bold. They appreciate when something is done with that standard for excellence. We gave a definition for these standards. So simple, good example. Easy to understand, comprehend, not complex, minimalist mindset. And then if you keep going through, you're going to get a definition per standard and a visual representation of that standard. So this one would be authentic, real, genuine, trustworthy. What this is going to do for your whole church is rally the forces around what excellence is. You're giving a definition, and then you're giving a visual representation through a design language that is going to be built in a brand guide. You're going to give colors, yes, fonts, but that's not a brand strategy. A brand strategy is built with the standard first strategy. That standard is then going to be interpreted into a visual language that a designer will put together at the end of a brand guide and say, here is our core design language. So things like, we prefer brand colors as backgrounds versus using white. Okay, so don't use white. We want as much of our brand color in our designs. Use a minimal amount of graphics to make things feel simple and clean. Custom make each design for each end use. So innovative. Use at least one handcrafted SVG font or art element, which is a paint or a wood or a paper texture in every design, but not exceeding 25% of a design to keep things clean yet authentic looking. Do you see how calibrated that language is? This is a visual language, and then we're using the standard to come up with this visual language. And the standard is navigating my steps on how to design this visual language for this church, so that when anyone experiences their messaging, it's going to land on this visual language that is defined by a standard for excellence, and therefore they're going to become memorable and recognizable. Here's a great example of what we mean by this. If you keep communicating through an inconsistent brand strategy, you end up looking like 20 different organizations as you communicate. As you can see right here, there's no consistency. There's no standard that's navigating the process for design. Therefore, it's all over the place. It's double-minded. Right here, this has like a vintage vibe. This has like a super handcrafted, minimalistic, like modern vibe. This has just like kind of like a clip art vibe. This has like a bold minimalism to it. This is grungy and kind of like hardcore. Do you see how if you're not designing with the standard, you don't land on anything that looks like this? Here, this is defining a standard, giving a visual representation of that standard, and then when you communicate, whether it's your posters in the parking lot, to an invite card, to a shirt, to bags that you hand out at church, to your new sermon series, everything connects to the visual language of your church, which is defining your brand standard, your standard for excellence. And do you see how this is easily recognizable as from one organization versus this over here? This is confusing and double-minded and just all over the place. This is not going to build a memorable, recognized church, and this is going to easily build a recognizable, memorable church. Having a clear Purpose and vision for your media ministry is one of the most important things that you can have. When you define your standard for excellence, you're telling your whole organization, we really, really, really want to be thought of as excellent. In order to do that, we can't look double-minded, and we can't look like we're not all on the same page. So build a brand guide, teach your whole staff how to use the brand guide, and teach over and over and over your standard for excellence. If you want help with this, we would love to help you. I am the founder of Duct Church. We want to help you advance your media ministry because we think that when we do that, more people will experience God's church because we prove that God's church is excellent. So if you'd like help building a brand guide, like the one we're talking about in here, go to Duct Church. We currently have 10 available spots. Spots are limited, but we want to qualify the right churches. And so schedule a call, and you can schedule a call with me, and I'll be there with you, navigating the process on whether this is a good tool for your church at this time. And for most churches, it's going to be a resounding yes. And we also have unlimited graphics that we can make for you per month through our unlimited plans. We have one that's the Essentials plan, which is $300 per month. And then we have another plan, which is the Advanced plan, which is $500. And we'd love to create content for you and give you monthly content that is going to lead people to the Lord and that is going to make you look more excellent in the world. And we want to advertise the truth of God's glory, which is He is an excellent God. And so back to this number one secret for media ministry. This is some media training that I do for every pastor and every church staff that I get to work with. And I'm now putting it online for you to have. My experience in building brand strategies started in Phoenix, Arizona, where I trained under a creative director who had just helped Pizza Hut rebrand, and my work that I did with this creative director got featured next to their Pizza Hut work. And so for me, I learned the process on how to build a Fortune 500 type brand strategy, and then I got a heart to want to help God's people understand and learn this principle of creating from a standard first and then building a brand guide and brand strategy through that standard. God's really been using it in the past few years, and I'd love to connect with you if God would allow. So when you create content for your church, you want to leverage the power of importunity into your city. That means that you're building a brand strategy that is consistent. Everyone's going to recognize it because it's defined by a certain standard of excellence, and because it has a visual language that is consistent to that brand standard. And then when someone comes into contact with your publishing or your media content, they're going to immediately say, oh, I've seen that before. What do they want? So importunity says, hey, we're going to not give up, and we're just going to keep knocking on the hearts of our city. This is the kind of media ministry that is going to lead people to visit you without ever meeting anyone from your church. When they go to your website, they're going to see that what they've heard in the past and seen in the past connects, and you're going to convert your online visitors to on-site visitors more effectively when they see that you truly are excellent. From the poster they saw to the sign they saw on your property when they drove past your building, or to the Facebook post, it all connects. And it's all visually excellent, and it doesn't look double-minded. This channel is now dedicated to equipping the church and training the church about how to keep things excellent for God's church to look excellent. I want to help you advance your media ministries. That has been my mission these last 10 years. I went to Bible college, and I got a heart to want to help pastors and ministry leaders advance their media ministries. And so I built this channel now through the proven strategies that we've used these last 10 years. And so now we're gifting them to you, and we want to create content now and build a community of people around all of the ideas that we've proven through the churches we've helped. And this community, I think, is going to be a fun one to be a part of. I love being around creatives and pastors who want to advance their outreach strategies. We want to help you lead more people into gospel ministry because you reached more people effectively through your investment into media ministry. This is my burning heart's desire. We want nothing but God's excellence in the world. And unfortunately, a lot of churches haven't really had this kind of training that helps them use media ministry in an effective way that doesn't really make God look bad. Sometimes when you do media ministry and you don't do it with skill and excellence, it actually kind of puts a stain on God, because it's like people would look at it and say, this isn't excellent, or I thought you had an excellent God. Why would you put out information about an excellent God that doesn't look excellent? I don't really believe your message. That is what your community will say to you when you put out content and publishing, put your name on it and say this is from God. God is an excellent God. He wants you to represent him in the most excellent of ways. I think about the book of Malachi, where God is really angry at the priests of that day because the priests were offering up corrupt and blemished sacrifices. And our sacrifice today is the work that we do in Jesus' name. We sacrifice our time and our efforts to speak for God and to offer up our lives as a sacrifice, and let that life be an excellent one, a good one, a one that's not messed up looking, okay? To put it bluntly, we want to just help you look excellent in the world and not messed up looking in the world, okay? God's church is the most amazing place. Oftentimes I say to a pastor, man, your church, it honestly is the best kept secret in your community because you haven't really gone all out on media ministry. And so if you're on a staff where a pastor hasn't really gone all in on using media ministry, we want to meet your pastor and we want them to meet this content. So share this video with a pastor who could use this information, and we'd love to connect with you. We'll see you in the comments, and God bless you guys, and let's advance God's church through media ministry. Oh, and subscribe. This is a new channel, and we'd love for more people to experience this content. So the more you engage, you like, and you subscribe to the content in this channel, the more people like yourself will see the content. And if you could share it, we would love that. But subscribe and like, that's gonna be a huge blessing. I'm Humberto, and I love you guys.